When LeBron James joined the Los Angeles Lakers in the summer of 2018, the move felt inevitable after bringing the Cavs their first championship. The league's most powerful player signing with its most iconic franchise was supposed to be the final chapter of a legendary career, a Hollywood ending. Alongside LeBron came Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul, his agent, closest confidant, and one of the most influential figures in modern sports. For years, Rich Paul was careful with his public words about the organizations that employ LeBron. If there were frustrations, they would stay behind closed doors. Public criticism didn't fit his strategy in monopolizing the league. But over time, Rich began to become more expressive, already regarded as LeBron's spokesman. It was hard to ignore the question of if these are his concerns or is he voicing LeBron's opinion to shield his client from public scrutiny. This is the timeline of how that shift happened with the Los Angeles Lakers. In LeBron's first season with the Lakers, the team missed the playoffs, finishing with a losing record of 37-45. The roster that surrounded LeBron was young, inconsistent, and constantly mentioned in trade rumors. Luke Walton was in his third year of coaching and had yet to experience a winning season. Yet the Clutch CEO did not say anything publicly. Always known as the behind-the-scenes guy, a part of LeBron's posse, as Phil Jackson once said. Rich Paul had many reasons to voice his concerns to the front office, but held it together to not create tension. For a superstar client's first year in Hollywood, the restraint mattered. Rich understood that criticism only carries weight when it comes from a position of leverage. That leverage blossomed the following year when another one of his superstar clients was acquired by the Lakers in a massive trade. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Larry Nance, and 3 first-round picks were exchanged for Anthony Davis, a top 5 big at the time. The Lakers eventually won the Bubble NBA championship in Orlando, LeBron's 4th ring and the franchise's 17th title. The championship vaulted LeBron's relationship with the organization to the ones he had with his prior teams. For Rich, his superstar clients Anthony Davis and LeBron winning a title bought him more credibility in the organization. The relationship was soon sour. The following year, the Lakers, who were favored to make a return to the finals, fell short to the Phoenix Suns in 6 games in the first round. The Lakers needed to revamp after the first-round exit and opted to acquire more star power, trading for Russell Westbrook. That move cost the Lakers depth and a defensive identity that it once had during their championship run. The fit did not work, and Darvin Ham was unable to make the necessary changes. The roster became top-heavy, injuries mounted, and the Lakers missed the playoffs entirely after just winning a title 2 seasons prior. This was the first moment when the tension became public and began to surface, not through just criticism. Once reports began to surface of LeBron's relationship with the Lakers potentially deteriorating, Rich Paul met with Jenny Buss and Rob Pelinka to clear the air and went on record to shut down those rumors. Rich told The Athletic, "I just don't think communicating indirectly is the right way of doing business," Paul told The Athletic, "and I don't think that's who we are, who LeBron is. We have a great partnership with the Lakers. The Clutch Sports Group and the Lakers don't have an issue. Rich Paul and Rob Pelinka don't have an issue. LeBron James and Rob Pelinka don't have an issue. And Jenny Buss and LeBron and Rich Paul don't have an issue. It's very simple, very simple." So whoever put that type of stuff out and people run with it, I think it's unfair to the Lakers. Paul wasn't praising the Lakers. It was simply him managing the perception of his client. Public denials don't happen unless there is some validity in what LeBron said. Still, there is no critique on the roster or leadership. Rich Paul, who has always been LeBron's spokesman, reiterated LeBron's emphasis on competing for a title. Eliminated by the Nuggets for a second time in a row, this time in the first round, it became paramount to Rich Paul and LeBron the Lakers still needed help. After LeBron opted out of his contract with intentions of helping the Lakers, an article reported that he is prioritizing a roster improvement. He's been adamant about exuding all efforts to improve the roster. Paul said James will be willing to work with the Lakers on signing a deal below the maximum 3-year, $162 million he is eligible for, to open up for the full $12.9 million mid-level exception to sign an impact player. He also went on to say if the Lakers are unable to entice a player of that ilk to come to LA for the mid-level exception, James will seek the max. The intentions seem pure on the surface. Every superstar wants their team to improve, but the language framed LeBron's commitment to the Lakers as conditional, dependent on their roster improvement. Paul wasn't attacking the organization outright, but in a professional way, he was using contract leverage rather than public criticism. After the most recent early playoff exit, Rich Paul became more direct. He questioned J.J. Redick's Game 4 choices when he decided to play the starters for the entire second half. Paul went on to say, "I just really didn't think that the roster for the Lakers was anywhere close to a championship-type roster, you know? And that's not making excuses. It's just a fact." Paul continued his media run by going on the Pat McAfee show and said, "You have to be professional in these times to understand that things may change. And so that goes to having depth. You can't do that with just two stars. Everyone was so gung-ho about Luka and LeBron. I never thought that. That would just mean that they're going to win the championship. Names don't win championships. Rosters do." That was a clinical assessment of the roster after a first-round exit with their first-year coach. Paul emphasized depth, balance, and structure, hinting at his star player being able to mask the team flaws for years. Rich Paul once again had made a statement on the roster, but this time seemingly removed LeBron from the equation. The failures are about how the team was built, not the superstars underperforming. The criticism escalated further when Rich Paul spoke on his podcast with Max Kellerman. Paul openly questioned whether the Lakers were legitimate title contenders. The most alarming comments were made about the culture. Paul comparing the Lakers in an unfavorable light to a franchise like the Heat, known for structure and discipline. Paul was basically inferring the Lakers rely too heavily on reputation and not enough on the process. Rich at this point was stating his doubt outright. The media didn't let the comments go unnoticed. Some viewed it as pressure and others saw it as honesty. Rich Paul isn't just another agent. He's LeBron James' proxy. When Paul speaks publicly, it's often because LeBron can't or shouldn't say it himself. These comments were calculated. They sent a message to the Lakers front office and ownership the patience earned by the 2020 championship had expired. The standards needed to be raised. Over the years, Rich Paul's public position towards the Lakers evolved from silence to open criticism. Rich Paul wasn't managing narratives anymore. He was delivering evaluations, and when the most powerful agent in basketball publicly questions roster construction and organizational culture, it signals something fundamental. Belief has been replaced by accountability. Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe.